Hey, welcome to the 10th episode of Distributed.NET Core course. It's Peter and
Derek.
And today we'll continue our previous topic, which was all of these things about logging, distributed tracing, and so on. And we'll talk about monitoring today. Everything related to monitoring and alerting, how you can track your data and monitor your applications, resources, and even some data that can be correlated with your business logic. Pretty much everything that you can imagine.
Yeah, pretty much everything that that will help you, to manage your microservices after you actually deploy them somewhere. Of course, we'll get to the deployment part later in this course, but for now, we're just focusing on the stuff that will actually help you get some useful information from your, several microservices.
So I think the good starting point is actually see what we can do about the monitoring. And we'll start with this AppMetrics library, which is a free library built for .NET Core. And it provides you a lot of integrations with popular open source tools that you can later on use for monitoring purposes.
I think that we should. Actually start with maybe not the definition, but distinguish what actually we can call the metrics. So because people usually talk about logging on your inside your application, but metrics is something slightly different than the logs, right?
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, because logs can be something like there was an error, there was an exception, or user created an account, or something like this. And metrics is more like actually maybe counting things, like how many users is online, or how many user clicked on this post endpoint, or send a request.
That's exactly what I want to say. So it's something that you can actually measure, because you cannot measure your error messages because that's just information for you that potentially can help you fixing some bug. But metrics is more about numbers and that help you analyze your whole system.
I mean, basically, you could do some metrics with logs. You could define maybe log types or add some special attributes to your login and count by looking for these occurrences of these log type attribute within your text file or database. But it can be done this way, but it doesn't mean it should be done this way.
Yeah, but in this case, you actually count the logs, but the logs itself would not be. Would be part of the metrics, but not metrics itself. So that was worth mentioning. And so we have this AppMetrics, and as you said, this is an open source project, as we see for .NET Core and .NET Framework as well for the 4.5.2. Okay, so I don't know whether we are going to go through this AppMetrics right now and see different types of metrics, or will we just go straight to the code?
Maybe let's go to the code and see how we can start using it, what it does for us.
Yeah, okay. So we have the solution, and I don't know, I think that we should start with our discounts, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
And we have already added these two things. I don't know, maybe whether we want to add them now or later. Maybe we can just leave it as it is.
We added logging in the previous episode because we used secu with Sterilog. So this is the logging part. And let's go into this AppMetrics extension method. Okay.
Right. So use AppMetrics. This is another extension method that can be found in the common package under the metrics directory. And as you see, there's a couple of things that actually happen here. So basically on the web host builder, so the builder provided by the ASP.NET Core, we call this method called configure metrics with defaults. And what we does, first we actually get the settings from the app settings .json. So I think that we should show these settings.
Yeah, we need to copy these settings.
Oh yeah, okay. This is not here in the discounts yet. So I grabbed
as usual, copy and paste.
Yeah, this is awesome because we can copy this easily. Yeah, so we have this metrics section, which is going to be placed right here under the salary rock maybe. For now this is, oh sorry, for now this does not matter.
Let's sort it alphabetically. Let's put it under the Mongo maybe.
Okay. As you, where is the Mongo? Yeah. Wait, so we have metrics. Right. No, yeah, you're right. This should be before. Okay.
Okay.
We'll put this later. Okay, so we have few options here. So maybe you should go through them and briefly.
Yeah. So as usual, the switch whether the metrics are enabled or not. So by default, the metrics will give us a few helpful endpoints that later on we can consume from the special databases that know how to deal with the metrics. We have the integration with InfluxDB that we'll talk about. We have integration with Prometheus. There is also a possibility to add the whole Elasticsearch stack integration, but we're not gonna use it here. But you can also do it with the AppMetrics library. And some basic settings such as the Influx database URL, if you like to send your metrics to this database, the name of the database, and the interval, which is all about how often your metrics should be sent. Because by default, the metrics will be also sent usually in some sort of batch request. So
okay, so I see from my point of view, this looks kind of similar to what we presented in the last episode. So when we presented the Jagger, because Jagger was also divided. The mechanism. So first is that of course we have some sort of metrics provided by the AppMetrics library. So same thing, kind of like we did with the open tracing. So we have some built-in metrics right now here, but also we need to store this data somewhere, right? So this is like a reporter from the Jagger when we need to store some data source. So in this case could be either the Influx or the Prometheus or something, right?
Yeah, you either need to store the data, meaning that you need to push the data somewhere, or either you need to expose the data. So for example, if you're using Prometheus, there will be a service that will be able to scrap your data from some endpoint.
Yeah, but basically what I mean is that we need to extract this metrics from the app to somewhere else, right? Because that's would make no sense if we would just keep it in the app.
Yeah.
And the last thing is that we need to sample the data because we don't want to store or maybe push or pull too much. So we have this interval. So this looks kind of similar. So
you can actually start the app now. Simply by adding this AppMetrics section and enabling it. You can start the app and open the endpoint, so without any further
I just need to
integrations.
Okay.
Maybe run it through the console, it will be faster.
Yeah, okay. So let's start the app using .NET CLI. We'll see, should be hosted. Yeah, okay, on the 5010.
Yeah, and we'll have now four new endpoints. So you can open this 5010, and let's start with the /ping.
Okay, let's see first whether this works. Okay, so it should be up and running.
Yeah. So for example, the ping we can use for pinging, which is used by default, for example, by the console for this endpoint. We also have the healthy.
Okay.
So the healthy, I think under the hood it uses the ASP.NET Core
healthy
or health or
maybe health.
Try health. Yeah. I think that by default it uses the ASP.NET Core health checks. I'm not sure, but I think it does. And we also have the two interesting ones, which is metrics and metrics-text.
Okay, so metrics. So this is the first.
Yeah, and
so
it exposes some of the default metrics and also metrics-text, which exposes the metrics just in different format.
Okay.
Dash, not the slash.
Sorry, text. Okay, that looks.
Okay.
Wait, so we have the timestamp measurement.
Yeah, and some default metrics that are actually calculated by the AppMetrics, and we'll also later on add our own metrics here.
Right. So we have this bunch of data here. So how we are actually going to make use of them, because this does not look like a
Now we need to somehow browse through this data. Of course, you could write your own queries and parse this data, but there are tools that can help you do that. So maybe let's start with this Influx database, because we need to store the data somewhere. So we'll start with the Influx, which is a time series database, which means that it stores the points in time. So it stores the time, and for this time it also keeps track of your metrics, which are by default, I think it's just a key value storage for the time. So basically this time series database, and it works this way that your app will be pushing the metrics to the Influx, and it's free. You can use it for free. And also, if you were looking for some like a complete solution, you can look for the Influx stack. And similarly to like Elasticsearch stack, there is the whole stack that allows you, to do this monitoring, logging, tracing, and so on. So this is similar to Elasticsearch stack, Beats, and these sort of things. So you can go simply
to influxdata.com.
You can choose this tag, or you can mix these tags. So it's not like you are tied to one particular stack, but you can maybe choose this part of the stack and use the other part of the stack of different technology. So it's up to you.
But this is but to make it clear, the Influx stack itself is free, or it
it's open source and it's free. I think you pay here mostly for enterprise
service
support and these things, something like in Elasticsearch.
Okay.
So all right, but we'll just use the InfluxDB, and we can start the DB through the Docker.
Yeah. Okay. So first, I think that we should start. So if you go to the DShop project on our GitHub, there is a directory called the compose. So this is the same directory that you used for starting our previous infrastructure. So whenever that was the Mongo Rabbit Redis, or as we introduced in the last episode, we have the Consul, Fabio, and Vault. So in this same directory, you can see another compose called Grafana InfluxDB Prometheus. So that's the one that we are going to use in this episode. So of course, for this purpose, you simply type docker compose. Then you need to use the F for, so you want to choose the particular file, and then want to app, and if you want, you can add the detach for to run the containers in the detach mode. And in my case, I already have this up and running, so I can prove this by doing docker ps. So you will see that I have I have Prometheus, InfluxDB, and Grafana, and the other, of course, along with the other infrastructure.
And you can open this localhost 8086, and it should return not found, which means that the Influx API is up and running.
I think, wait, 80,
86.
Okay. Not found.
So that's fine. And so let's go back into our app settings and set this switch to be true.
Okay, so we get back to app settings. So, okay, let's see. We have this Influx enabled from false. We need to enable this.
And you can also go to the extension part, the extension method. And here you will see that you have this switch.
Influx. So I would say that this is as I said, this is pretty similar to what we've done in a Jagger. So basically, we set the reporter that we want to. In a Jagger, you could report either to to Elasticsearch or to or directly.
Same like with Serilog, where you have the sync or nlog targets or whatever. So
So basically, what we do here is we specify. Okay, I see. So
connection
URL.
string. And it will create a database for us if it doesn't exist. Because for the Influx, you also have the API, and you can also use the CLI if you want to perform some queries or commands on your database. So let's just restart the app now.
Okay.
And it should start reporting to the Influx.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it will.
Okay, so let's .NET Run again. Should take a while. Okay, it's up and running.
Yeah, it will start reporting to Influx. Now the question is how we can actually get the data from the Influx. I mean, we could use the query. We could, open the CLI and query the Influx data, like we could query the SQL or NoSQL data. But we don't want to query the data to see the metrics, because we can see the metrics from our endpoints as well. So we need to, add some point of dashboard where we can actually visualize our metrics. So we'll use Grafana for this.
Yeah, and let's face it that the dashboard makes you, look even more pro. So
yeah.
It's the same thing that with the dark themes. If you're using this, you're just pro. And okay, so we have this Grafana thing. So basically, what Grafana does is basically presents you this ugly data, as you saw here, and makes some magic to look it more like here. So this is pretty much about the visualizing data and the presenting the metrics in some more useful way for monitoring your applications, because let's face it, you cannot just consume the metrics in as a JSON.
Yeah, and it's free, and it's free, and it's cloud agnostic, so you can use it anywhere.
Yeah. So Grafana, as we presented to you, was part of the Docker Compose. So once you actually run this compose, you should go to the localhost
3000.
3000, yeah.
Yeah.
And one more thing, because maybe this is, as you see, I'm already logged into the Grafana.
I would say let's remove everything. Just kill the Docker Compose, clear the volumes, and restart everything.
For now, why should not? I mean, the only thing I want to say is that the login is admin and there is no password, and that's.
It's admin, I think.
No, that's just admin. There was no password. Yeah. So you don't actually need to create the account on the Grafana itself if you want to use it locally, but later.
Yeah, so you need to add the data source.
Yeah, okay, so we can go here under the configuration, simply go to the add data source, and we can choose from plenty different data sources. So in our case, we would like to choose the InfluxDB, because that's exactly what we hope we will have. And let's call this DShop. Maybe.
Yeah, the name doesn't matter. It's just a name that you can see in the device. You can put here anything.
Yeah.
This is the part that actually matters, because here you have to specify the URL, and here you need to put, if you are running this through Compose, you need to put here InfluxDB. I think you can look at the Docker Compose file. What's the alias for this?
Okay, we'll see, and here I believe, yeah, Grafana.
So the container name is InfluxDB. Okay, so this will be our DNS.
So InfluxDB.
Yeah, InfluxDB. And that's pretty much it. You can also set up authentication here, credentials, certificates, and so on. And for the details, DShop database, because that's what we specified in our app settings. And the DShop database will be created by the app.
So here, right?
Yes, and we don't have any username and password. So
that was with the dash?
No, just DShop.
Okay, DShop. Okay.
And just save and test.
Yeah, and as you see, this is working because this already tested the connection. So so just keep in mind that this is in the container, so it uses the DNS provided by the Docker. Okay, so let's save it.
I mean, you could also go with host Docker internal here, and I think it should also work. But
yeah, this is the same thing. Okay, so now we specified the whole source of the metrics, but the question now is how the heck we actually present this data, because if we go to the home right here, we can create new dashboard.
Yeah, so we can add here some pretty nice looking.
So we could create like
elements.
some graph and create this from different parts depending on our needs. but I hope that there is a better way of doing this, at least for our purposes.
Yeah, for the demo purposes, let's actually use already existing template, because you can browse through the free templates on the Grafana website. So you can look for the template which was created by the team who created AppMetrics library, and there is a special AppMetrics InfluxDB template. So you can just copy this ID or download JSON, because the template is just a JSON object, JSON file.
Yeah.
So,
but basically this is and underneath there is simply mapping between particular name of the metrics and some tags that are needed.
Yeah.
You will see this once we go to the Prometheus more. So basically what you need to do is simply grab this ID and go back to the Grafana, and you will see import. And I will discard this because I'm not interested in this. Simply paste the ID, and you see that we have imported this.
Yep.
Yeah, and now we have some.
Let's try to open the overview section above.
Yeah, we have the overview.
But yeah,
it's not one.
Yeah, I had the same issue during the last workshops. It used to work, but I think it's something related to Grafana. This template stopped working somehow. So
what a shame. No.
Yeah. But you can open this screenshot and see how it should look like. I mean, it worked in the past, but I think it might be related to the newer versions of Grafana. Because,
you mean this?
Yeah, because it worked for me a few months ago, but during the last workshop it also failed.
That's kind of weird thing.
Yeah, maybe something changed on the Grafana part. Hard to tell. Yeah, but
so this is how it is right now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, you could probably.
But does it apply only to the InfluxDB or?
Yeah, also with Prometheus. So
okay.
there's something wrong with the latest versions of these templates. I think maybe they weren't updated, or there were some breaking changes in Grafana. But yeah, if you actually try to import this on your own, maybe it will work on your side. Maybe.
Yeah, but maybe also you could try to.
It won't do anything else. It won't help.
But maybe there's something with the with the mapping or something.
Could be. But
yeah, but it's it's quite a lot of code here. So as you see, there's the tags. So maybe there's something with the mapping that
could be,
actually breaks it.
I mean, it used to work at least a few months ago, but last few weeks it stopped working, and also other people tested it. So there is something wrong. But basically, you can actually import the existing templates. You can export your templates, and you can of course add here your own elements. So maybe let's just leave the influx for now, and because the thing about templates and the dashboards will be the same with the other tools. So maybe let's keep the influx, and the AppMetrics will push the data to the influx in the background mode. And maybe let's go to the Prometheus, because in the Prometheus we'll also have the dashboard for this app itself, and also we'll later on integrate it with the Grafana.
Yeah, I think that.
But you can trust us. This template used to work.
That's the best explanation. You can trust that it actually worked. It used to, but now it's gone.
Yeah.
Right. So now we have another weird thing called Prometheus. And what the heck is this?
Yeah. So Prometheus is a quite popular tool, because you might have heard about Graphite. And Graphite was one of the first, not sure one of the first, but it's also still quite a popular tool related to monitoring and consuming the metrics exposed by your app. So Prometheus is like the newer, maybe not the newer, but sort of like Graphite, but I think it's even more popular now. And it was released, I think, in 2012. So it's even more recent version, and I think it's definitely more popular than Graphite right now. And what it does, so it can help you with consuming the metrics. It also has some nice alerting options, and it works in a opposite way to the for example Influx. So Prometheus will scrap the data. You will need to expose the endpoints. So for example, this metrics or metrics-text from your app, and it will just send a request to this endpoint, for example, every 5 seconds. We'll scrap the data, and then you'll be able to, for example, use either built-in Prometheus dashboard or use Grafana or some other tool to visualize these metrics.
So to make it clear, we could get rid of the InfluxDB and use the Prometheus as a data source, which would pull once a while would pull the metrics from our app, right?
Yeah, and so Influx is a push model. Our app pushes the metrics. Prometheus is a pull model, which means it will pull the data. However, you can also, if you type in the Prometheus push gateway in the Google, you are also able to switch to the push model, because sometimes you may not want to expose the endpoints from your app, and it works this way that you just start a push gateway container, push gateway service somewhere, and now your application will be pushing the metrics to the push gateway, and the Prometheus will scrap the metrics from the push gateway.
Okay.
So you can use the push gateway.
That's kind of facade.
Yes,
proxy
exactly.
between the app and
Exactly.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And one more thing that it's kind of worth mentioning is that the Prometheus itself exposes this PromQL, which is a query language built for the Prometheus, which allows you to actually query Prometheus for some metrics based on these labels that actually Prometheus exposes. So this is you mentioned the graphite, and graphite was, as far as I know, this one was known from this wildcards or the patterns that you actually could provide for the querying for the particular metrics, while the Prometheus itself actually uses the labels for querying, and this makes it more I would say that more flexible for querying sets of metrics.
Yeah, what is also great about Prometheus is that it has a lot of integrations. For example, it has built-in integrations with Docker engine, I think also with Kubernetes and some other tools. So basically, you could start Docker, Kubernetes, some databases, just enable the Prometheus plugin, and you will have built-in metrics for a lot of services, infrastructural parts, or application within your whole, whole solution, all your microservices. So this is very, very nice. Okay, so
right. So shall we go to app settings? Again?
And let's disable the Influx. I mean, you could run both, but it doesn't make much sense, I think. Let's disable Influx and start the Prometheus.
Let's just go here, and I will disable the Influx integration, and we'll enable the Prometheus.
Yeah, and let's open the code, maybe the extension.
Yeah, we'll simply go here. So we have specified, the Prometheus.
So we have the endpoint for a Prometheus because it uses different, as Darek said, different type of metrics in a different format. So you have to enable this Prometheus. As you can see, we have this endpoint output formatter for this Prometheus text. Prometheus also supports the protobuf, but we'll just go with text. And also, if you scroll up, above we have these tags, which are pretty generic, but here it's done a little bit weird way, but it had to be done like this. So the AppMetrics by default, you can enable these three built-in tags, app, env, and server tag, which either uses your app name, environment, and server name, or you can also override it in this weird way, but this is how I had to do this in order to make it work. So this is like adding, this enrichment to your logging with Secure and Log. So that's pretty much the same. Okay, so let's restart the app, and maybe also open.
Shall we override the Prometheus?
Show the config for the Prometheus itself.
Okay, so we have it here. So this is the same folder, so this is the compose directory in a DShop project. So we have this Prometheus YAML file.
And here we have our targets or our jobs. So you can name it anyway. This is just an alias that you can later on browse through Prometheus. And the targets is the host name. So here we can either specify, for example, API and : our port. where our API or the service are running, but this will only work if we have, for example, here our Docker network, right? Because we are using the aliases. So in order, if we're not in the network, we need to use our special endpoints.
So okay, first I think I need to add the dictionary. Sorry, not the dictionary, but the discount.
So maybe let's remove all of these things. Just maybe let's just keep the discount service. Just rename one service to the discounts.
Okay, so let's call this discount service, and we need to specify. So as Piotr said, because the Prometheus itself will be running inside the Docker container and will run the application from the .NET CLI using this .NET CLI.
Yeah, from our local host.
So this basically will be exposed. So we need to add this magic URL. So this is Docker for Mac, right?
Yeah, Docker for Mac localhost, but I think also the host Docker internal should work. But
okay, so let's go with host Docker internal.
I think it should also work.
Coder, no, Docker internal. Okay, and the port is 5010.
Yeah, and right now you have to actually restart the Prometheus, so it will load the settings.
Let me just. Sorry. I'll just kill this man, Grafana, or just maybe.
Yeah, let's just do Docker compose down.
Yeah.
But you have this tab open.
What?
You have the tab open, here.
Okay. Compose down. Where is this? Okay. No. Did I screw something? Oh, sorry. Down was after.
Yeah.
Jesus, this kills me. That sometimes is down. Die. Okay.
And let's restart.
Okay. Now with the detach mode.
Yeah,
okay.
And you should be able to open the Prometheus now. It starts pretty quickly.
Okay.
90.
Yeah. So I'll just close this localhost, and we should see great Bootstrap UI, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's go to the status and into our targets section. Yeah. And here you can see whether it can grab the targets, grab the data.
Okay,
or not.
this is down, but I think that we should start the app actually.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, this makes sense. Okay. So let's do .NET run once again. So this will,
Yeah, and I think we have by default 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds we scrap the data. And I think the lowest value is probably 5 seconds, the same in Grafana. So I'm not sure if you can go below 5 seconds.
Yeah, this is up.
Yeah, cool.
This is up.
So if you open the alerts, you will see nothing here, but you can also define the alerts within the configuration file. So you can do a lot of alerting based on some specific rules. But let's go to the graph.
Yeah.
And let's look for, and we can here query our metrics. So maybe let's open the metrics endpoint and let's see the difference.
Okay.
So let's just refresh this one. And also let's open the metrics-text. But metrics-text I think will be the same. Yeah, so only the metrics, which is by default, which is the default endpoint for the Prometheus change. Yeah,
so this is actually how you specify the metrics for the Prometheus, and that's the difference between the Prometheus and Graphite that Piotr said. So basically, what you can see is that the name of the metric, and then we have the set of the labels, of tags,
tags.
Yeah, tags. So
and the value.
Yeah. So later you could say, let's just maybe do something like this.
Yeah, but you have to copy. Depends on what you want to render, but
wait, I lost my Prometheus. Oh, it's here. Okay. What I meant is just I'm not sure whether you can actually do something like this, that to query the data. Yeah.
Oh,
so as you see, this is one of the usage of the
you can open
the
graph.
PromoQL. Yeah, it's like here.
Yeah, and here we have some. we have some metrics are actually being rendered. So it's getting
so basically what it does is simply give me the metrics that actually contain the app tag called and with this value.
Yeah.
So all metrics that belongs actually to discount service. As you see, there's plenty of them, and
you can just specify a full name. It also has the autocomplete built in.
Really?
Just start typing.
But in where?
Here.
In
just
the...
remove this one and start typing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and you can also browse metrics like this.
So okay.
Yeah.
Or either you can use this.
Yeah.
So this is basically the same thing.
Yeah. So okay, and let's maybe go to Grafana because this UI isn't that pretty. I mean, it's okay, but let's actually try to render these metrics using the Grafana. And yeah, we have to add the new data source for the Prometheus.
Yeah. So we go once again to data sources. I'll discard this and let's start with the new. And yeah, as you see, we have this Prometheus here. So I think that we can add this as a browser like this, and this should work.
Okay, maybe.
Or we can add simply
let's just use
Prometheus.
the Docker network.
Hopefully
and you can change the scrape interval maybe to 5 seconds. Here.
Okay, let's say 5s. Okay, this.
And let's save it.
Yep. Okay, it's working.
All right.
So let's get back.
Yeah,
and,
we could actually, import the dashboard. That will not work again because something changed. So maybe let's try to create a graph on our own. So
okay,
that
will be.
Yeah, just create a graph.
Something.
And edit. So click on this, edit.
Yeah, we have this.
And here we have the query part. So in this A, B, you can add more queries. You can put the metrics names, tags, and everything. So let's just type our metric name.
What was the name?
I think it also has the autocomplete. So you can try to. Oh yeah. So just choose whatever. And click somewhere on the. Try without the tags.
Okay.
And just put somewhere. Click somewhere on the screen. Okay, and we already have the metrics being rendered. And if you click on these last 6 hours above.
In where?
Last 6 hours. And you can change here refreshing every, and let's put it into 5 seconds maybe.
Yeah.
It will ask for the data every 5 seconds, and you will see the graph being rendered in real time. And there is a lot of things you can configure. You can, for example, add a new query, and you can have like we've seen on the Prometheus tab, like multiple things being rendered on a single graph. And you can add the counter and other types of elements. So maybe, all right, maybe
I don't know whether there was something like HTTP request, HTTP request. No.
I think it depends on the library because there is also a dedicated library for .NET Core for Prometheus only, and it has more built-in metrics. But the AppMetrics doesn't have too many metrics built in. Yeah, maybe let's save this one, and maybe let's add a new maybe counter. So let's save it.
Okay. Wait. Just
save it.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's just add a new element maybe. Whatever. Let's just add this single stat.
Okay. Yeah.
And let's put here some value. So you can. So for example, for the single stat, it has to be unique, right? So if you would try to put here some metrics which name is in use in other labels as well, it will render an error. So you have to copy the whole metric label, metric name, which is unique, which usually means that you also have to specify the tags. So maybe let's just copy the metrics from the whole metric.
Okay, so let's say this might be something like this. And let's get back to where the hell is
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can go to the options and change the background, whatever. So this is how you can actually start dealing with start playing with the metrics and using Prometheus, Grafana. and you have a lot of options here. There is a lot of built-in functions for some aggregations, some statistical functions. You can format it using different Unix, different colors, and a lot of things you can do. So right now, as you can see, we are able to consume the built-in metrics, but maybe let's try to create our own metric, right? Because this is where the business value might come from actually, showing to the end users or to the business guys your own metrics that they are interested in.
Yeah, so I think that we should go to, that would be cool to actually create something for our own.
We need to go to our app. And
that will be the fun part.
Yeah, so let's say, what do we want to measure? We can actually measure anything. And we have these few metrics types to start using.
I think that we should go to the AppMetrics to show the difference, because this is kind of crucial to understand. If you go to the AppMetrics.io, then you will see that under the metrics types you have plenty different kinds of the metrics. So, for instance, you can see that we have the gauge, we can the counter and the meters, histograms, timers, and updates. And each one is for different purposes. So basically, this one could be useful for describing, let's say, the CPU usage.
Yeah, memory usage, disk usage, right? Network,
the temperature, or anything else. The counter itself, simply, you can either increment or decrement this. So it could be useful for, I don't know,
tracking requests, maybe like how many user ask for the data using this endpoint or query the data or whatever. But let's try to do something simple.
Yeah, maybe we should go with the counter, because this is fairly simple, because you can, it will be kind of hard to screw this. Right, so I don't know whether we should create some, maybe some directory called metrics or something.
Maybe let's put it into services subdirectory.
In service?
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay. So the way it works is the AppMetrics gives you the iMetrics root interface that you can use to manipulate the metrics. However, you need to define your own metrics. So in order to do it, maybe let's just do it the simplest way possible. We'll just create a single interface and then implement it in a class, and our class will hold all of the metrics that we want to measure. So let's just call it iMetrics registry, maybe.
Can we just create metrics? That kills me that we put this in the services.
Yeah, whatever.
Let's just create. Yeah, just create, because this simply kills me. Okay, so let's call this metrics. And okay, so what's the name of the interface?
Let's call it iMetrics registry, maybe.
All right, so iMetrics registry, and then right. And you want to some
let's before you create a class, let's just put here a method. So what do we want to measure here? We can actually think of anything. Let's say maybe we want to measure our handler. So let's say in our handlers, let's open the handlers, and the discounts, and maybe create discount handler. But this one, all right, it might actually fail, but we can actually measure it anyways, I think, or maybe not.
How many times we actually, I don't know.
Yeah, but there is an exception which will fail, so maybe let's do something simpler, because we will get an exception here.
So maybe how many times we query for the particular.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So let's measure this one.
All right.
So let's say, so we have the find discounts or get discount handler.
Yeah, find discounts.
Okay, so let's say we'll have a single operation here. Let's make it a void.
All right. And
maybe want to increment find discounts query. You have a type increment find discounts query. Query.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is okay. So we won't decrement anything.
Yeah, you can do Alt Enter on the interface name.
I know. Okay. So this is options actually.
Yeah, options.
This is right here. And now I need to do this once again, right? Because I need to specify that want to where that I can extract. Yeah, move. It's kind of weird to me. Okay, so let's make this public and implement missing member. Okay, so we have this. Now we need to, as I understood, we need to create a private.
We need to create our metric. So the way we do this, we create the metric options, and we're gonna use counter. So there will be counter options.
So we want to
no, just counter options as a metric type. Counter options.
Counter options. Oh, sorry.
And let's call it our find discounts.
This?
Yeah, let's just call it. Let's make it meaningful, because we can have a lot of metrics here. So just say
so find discounts.
Find discounts. Query.
Right.
Whatever. Or let's make it like this.
Right.
Query, or maybe query usage count queries. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's make this.
And let's initialize this already.
Okay.
No, not like this.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. This was Jesus Christ. New counter options. Okay.
And you have to put a label here. So using the object initializer, you can set a name property, and also different options. But the name is interested, so this will be the label tag.
So we call this like
whatever. Find discounts queries, for example.
Yeah, find discount.
And just keep in mind that Prometheus requires you to have the lower name. The AppMetrics will change it to to the lowercase. The AppMetrics will take care of this. But if you wouldn't have the lowercase labels, the Prometheus wouldn't scrap the data. It would fail. So that's important. And actually, the previous version of AppMetrics had this bug, so I couldn't use it because it wasn't lowercase.
Really?
Yeah, and with the newer version of Prometheus, it just didn't work, but they fixed it. So you can use you can use this one, but okay.
Yeah, maybe just for the safety, I'll just.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, to make it clear, this will be translated as a tag for the
label name. The tags are in the brackets. This is the label.
Okay, so this is label. Okay.
Yeah, and this is the metrics that's coming from the AppMetrics.
Yeah. So if you see, this is AppMetrics counter. Counter options. Yeah.
So let's use the AppMetrics. Let's use this metrics route within our increment query.
Yeah. So we have this, and now we can do something about this, right?
Yeah. We can just say measure.
Yeah. This is here.
And then we look for our metric type, which is counter. And then we have, for example, these two options. For different types of metrics, we have different methods. And
so we can simply
pass our and that's it. And this is the only thing that we need to care about. So
that's awesome.
Whether we are using Influx or whether we're using the Prometheus, the AppMetrics will take care of actually sending our metrics to the server or just exposing the endpoints. But we also have, you have to actually register it in a singleton. Sorry, in the IOC container. So let's just in a startup.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, just
will be registry.
Yeah, let's make it a transient maybe. So
yeah, okay.
Just you can use default container. Just call services dot add transient and just register it.
So this is the opposite, I believe, as in the artifact. So first you specify the interface. I find.
No, it's iMetrics registry.
Oh, sorry. Metrics registry. No, this is this one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and now let's inject our metrics registry to the handler.
Yeah, so let's put it here. Okay, let's call this registry like this. I got this, okay. And just introduce, this is from discounts, and we also want to initialize from the constructor. And I don't know whether
Yeah, let's
here.
put it here.
So maybe just registry. Okay,
Yeah,
and increment.
Let's restart the app now.
Yeah. So let's go here. Oh, it's kind of a lot of stuff going on.
And before you do any query, let's just open the metrics. So it won't be visible immediately. You will have to, at least call the metrics updated once. So if you refresh, there is no metric yet, but let's just call the /discount. So it was right to look for discounts.
I believe so. Discounts. Think.
Yeah. All right. And let's refresh the metrics.
Let's go here.
Yeah, and it's here, the first one. Yeah, find discounts.
Yeah.
Cool. So we can actually add this to our Grafana dashboard now because it's already in the Prometheus. So let's just add it to our Grafana. So maybe let's make it a single stat as well.
Yeah. And we go here, and we call this find.
Yeah, it's here.
Discounts. Yeah.
And let's maybe change the color. Let's make it more visible. So in the options, you can add the colors and whatever.
I don't know. Let's make it red.
Okay, and I think you have to click on a value if you want to make a value.
To what?
To value checkbox.
Okay.
Yeah. And so let's go back into our dashboard. You can just back on the. You don't have to close the whole dashboard. Just go back, yeah. And let's start refreshing. Let's refresh our metrics a few times.
Just go.
Yeah. And as you can see, if you go back to the dashboard, it will be incremented in a few seconds. After every 5 seconds, once the Prometheus scraps the data, and once the Grafana scraps the data from our app. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 8.
So yeah, and that's pretty much it. You can do a lot of different metrics. So for example, because what you've just seen is a very simple, metrics tracker, but you can also go with more sophisticated implementations.
Depending on your needs.
Yeah. You could, for example, make use of the of the action filter attribute, and just create an attribute that would use within the onAction executing or onAction execute these metrics registry, and you could add this attribute to your to your actions within the ASP.NET Core controllers, or you could maybe use the decorator pattern, and by using your IOC container, you could also mark your handlers or some services with these attributes. And based on this attribute, you can, while resolving the particular service, particular handler for your container, you could look for these attributes and maybe update the metrics as well. So you can do a lot of cool things with these metrics.
Yeah, I would say that especially with the ASP.NET Core and this whole, this gives you a lot of places potentially that you can actually plug this.
Yeah.
The middlewares and the whole bunch of the filters, action filters, as you saw.
And could you also open this bell on the left panel where you have these alerting settings below?
You mean the alert rules?
Yeah, alert rules. So you can also set the alert rules fields, and if you open the notification channels, you can, for example, enable Slack alerting and a lot of different channels for alerting. So from within the type, you can send your alerts to different apps, and or
the mail to your boss.
Yeah, and the one last thing is the plugins, because Grafana has a lot of plugins, and some of them are of course commercial. So if you go to the plugins, can you browse it's called World Ping.
Okay, so the World
Ping, and like this. And let's go to the Grafana, and this is a pretty cool plugin. The first one, which you can think of if you open these screenshots. You can use, for example, for tracking your internal services, like whether they are alive or not, the request times and so on. So we can also use some built-in or buy some plugins. So this is pretty cool. Or develop your own.
But basically, this gives you more, I would say that the more real-time control, so you can actually, assuming that you actually you're up and running on maybe production, or maybe you're still on the QA or something, but you can, see what's actually happening with your apps. And that's, I would say, this is a pretty cool thing, because of course logs can be stored somewhere, but then you need to analyze them. Tracing is cool, but of course you also need to go through this whole traces and analyze the particular spans. But this gives you a real-time overview of what's actually happening to your app. And this could be either some more business I would say the more business related stuff, maybe more valuable for the business, or maybe some more hardware or infrastructural data that would be valuable for guys more,
and what is also great about the Grafana, and one of its features, is that if you go back to our dashboard, we cannot see it here because we don't have.
I lost it.
We didn't define it here. Let's open the dashboard. But in the Grafana, you could also have the under this new dashboard copy, where's our dashboard list. You could also, if you open the settings for this dashboard, and you go to the annotations, the variables, I think it was.
You can specify.
You can, for example, specify the variables, and you could, for example, create a drop-down. So where, for example, on the first drop-down, you would have the maybe cluster or servers or nodes list, and then you could select a node, and within your node, you could have another drop-down that would, for example, filter the instances of your applications running within that node. So you could also do this sort of filtering, and you can set the variables for the Grafana, and you can do.
I think if we go to the this AppMetrics, you should see these variables. So you can define plenty different, and you can then create another variables that actually refer to this.
And if you go back to the dashboard, there are actually these drop downs visible here. So like there are the drop downs. So you can configure it, but the dashboard doesn't work because there's some bug, but you can define it through your Grafana. You can also expose this publicly. You can add different folders for different dashboards. You can add teams with different permissions. You can expose some of the dashboards publicly, maybe for read-only view. So you can pretty much do anything with it.
There's a lot of stuff that you can actually configure, and as I said, this gives you a great tool for analyzing this in real time, what actually happened.
And I think that will be it, right? Because this is how you can start working with monitoring, but there are a lot of different tools or different stacks. So feel free to use whatever suits you the best.
So I think that we should sum this up, these two episodes of the let's say tooling. So if you have any sensitive data or something, just simply don't hard code this, because that's stupid, and you should not put this into app settings or something. So as presented in the last episode, you can use some third-party tools like the Vault for storing your sensitive data. Then if you want to have any kind of the information specified, and you want to browse this pretty easily, then you can add some logging using Secure or something. But just keep in mind that the logging itself is related to one specified service in this case, because we have distributed application. So if you want to see the overall picture, more big picture of what's actually happening to your application, then you can go and try distributed tracing. And as you saw today, you can actually add one more value for your application, which is a real-time and more, I would say, more data related to numbers. So like CPU usage, or like number of calls that are actually made to your application. So something that can be actually measured. And for this purpose, you can use some Prometheus or the InfluxDB, and you can expose this or present to you using the Grafana. So this is the whole stack. I think that this closes this part of this series.
So that's it for this episode. and see you next time.
Yeah, see ya.